Hi, everyone. I'm Todd Sepulveda, the editor of Prepper Website and the host of the Prepper Website podcast. Hey, I want to talk to you just a little bit about hurricane preparedness. I want to talk with you give you some hurricane preparedness tips. And so the thing is that the 2018 hurricane season is about to start, or maybe it's by the time you watch this video, it might have already started. It starts June 1st, 2018. And they're predicting a normal hurricane season. And when they predict a normal hurricane season, they're saying that there's going to be 12 named storms, the Atlantic side, right? So 12 named storms, and 6 of those should turn into hurricanes. But we all know that it only takes one hurricane to really mess up, our home, to mess up where we live, to mess up our community. I mean, I'm living proof of that here in Houston. I can tell you that Hurricane Harvey, we're going into hurricane season, the 2018 hurricane season, and the 2017 hurricane season. We're still reeling from that. There's still, not too far away from my house, there's still people that are, remodeling, and there's one house I always pass, and it's like they're always bringing out stuff to throw away, and there's tape around it, and it's just crazy, I've talked about this before. I have a friend that I know that in their neighborhood, the person who was there, the family that lived there, they were an older couple. They flooded out. When the water receded, they closed the door and left. And so it wasn't mucked out. It wasn't, the rain didn't, they weren't, it wasn't mucked out, and it was still wet inside of there, and mold is just going crazy. So that's kind of just going out into their neighborhood. And so they're working on getting that taken care of. So hurricane season is a big deal. It's not only the hurricane that you can have to deal with, it's also, the aftermath of that. So I want to just talk about some hurricane preparedness tips, though, as we are going in. And so the first one is this. You need to decide if you are going to stay. Now, here's the thing. Wherever you are in your experiences with hurricanes, it's always going to change, where your thought process is. For instance, in Florida, when the hurricane was going to hit Florida this 2017 season, right after Hurricane Harvey, they thought it was going into one area, and so everyone evacuated, and then it didn't really go into that area. It changed directions at the last minute. Well, people weren't allowed to go back into their homes. And so that caused a big problem. I think it was like a day or two that people weren't allowed to go back into their homes. So they're not going to next time. I know that there was people interviewed that said, hey, we're not going to evacuate next time. I don't care what they say. We're going to stay right here because we don't like not being able to go back into our homes, right? And so I know where I live in the Houston area, I don't necessarily we don't evacuate, right? We've never had a situation, even with Hurricane Harvey, right? The water coming right up to our garage door, right? It was really, really freaky for us. I had never, ever gotten that high before, but I don't see us ever really evacuating. Most of the time when we've had hurricanes like Hurricane Ike, it is a big wind event. We get a lot of wind. There's down trees and different things like that, but we just have never evacuated. We're far enough from the coast that we're not feeling the full-on hurricane force winds, so we would never evacuate. But you got to think about, would you evacuate, right? I know a lot of people after Hurricane Harvey are going to be thinking twice about that. Would they want to stay if there was another flooding event like Hurricane Harvey? Are they willing to do that? So if you are, maybe you have an elderly, grandparent that lives with you, maybe you have kids, young kids, and you're just not willing to keep them at that house if there is, a hurricane coming and it looks like it's a straight shot. So you really need to think about that if you're going to stay, if you're going to decide if you're going to stay or not, and then make those types of preparations, right? So, listen to the authorities and all that, but you got to go with your experience. Where I'm at right here, we've just never evacuated in all the hurricanes that we had. That was with like Hurricane Rita, right after Hurricane Katrina. People were evacuating left and right. Hurricane Ike, people were evacuating. And then Hurricane Harvey. There's some people that did evacuate, but I don't think as many as in the past. I think probably now a lot of people wish they would have. So number 2, and I'm not really going to dwell on this a whole lot because these are just the basic preps that you should have, but really like the food water, medicine, battery, lights, all the kinds of things that you'd normally deal with when hurricane season comes up, right? All those things that when you wait too long and you go to the store, all those things are wiped out. Food's wiped out. And let me tell you, one of the things from her, I said I wasn't going to talk about it, but let me talk about it just really quick. One of the things that kept getting wiped out at the grocery store, even when they were replenishing it after Hurricane Harvey, were eggs. For some reason, people just, it's like eggs were the thing. They could not keep enough eggs in. And the other thing was the potato chip aisle. Even after they like came and they restocked the store, the potato chip aisle, things just flew off the shelves. It was crazy. So they had a full grocery store, but the potato chip aisle was completely empty. You want to have water. Of course, you want to have all your water filters, all those types of things. Again, like I said, medicine, batteries, flashlights. You know, when Survival Hacks gives me a coupon code, you definitely want to grab their flashlight. It's such a great deal. I'm kicking myself for not buying more of those. One thing that I want to say here is that if you are a coffee drinker, right, you need to make sure that you have a way to make that coffee. One of the things that I do is, this is like a Farberware coffee pot, and so you need to have your food and you need to have a way to cook your food, right? One of the things that I recommend, if you have a grill, or maybe you're in the market for a grill and you have a side burner, or you can get a side burner, that's great. This is that's how I made my coffee, right? Because you don't want to be in a disaster situation and you're a coffee drinker and not have coffee. If you can boil water very easily, you can get those single just filters, kind of like tea bags, coffee bags, and those have worked. I've used those going camping. But anyway, if you're making a lot of coffee, maybe for your family, whatever, this works. Just one of the cautions is that it's going to get dark. It actually got dark or burnt all the way up on the top, and I just kind of wiped that off. One of the, like a little Boy Scout trick that we used to do is put a thin layer of liquid soap. I didn't do it this time around. I just, I didn't care. So, but anyway. That's one thing that you can do if you're wanting to make sure that you get it nice and shiny and clean again. But I would recommend this. I know that my parents, when they had when Hurricane Ike hit, they luckily had a neighbor, because all they had was electric coffee makers and stuff like that. They had a neighbor who had a generator, so that neighbor was able to bring coffee. But if you're a coffee drinker and you're going to get caffeine headaches and things like that, you definitely want to have a way to make some coffee one way or the other. So have food, water, all that stuff that you normally have for a hurricane, have ways to cook, all those types of things. You definitely need to have that, right? And so let me say this as well. I'm saying hurricane preparedness, but really a lot of these things can go for any kind of disaster that you're going to be dealing with. So if we're talking about a blizzard, if you're talking about, you're in tornado alley, any kind of really disaster that you're dealing with. If you're in a fire, of course, you're going to be evacuating from a fire. But anyway, there you go. Another thing you should have is an ice chest. Just in case your power goes out, it would be worth it to have an ice chest. I have one of the big ones, and now it's like 120 quart. It's like $60 on Amazon. And the technology now is so good that it will hold ice and keep things cool for a very, very long time. And so you don't go out and buy one of those expensive Yetis, big Yeti coolers. I mean, I think they're like $700, $800, something like crazy like that. Just buy a regular like Igloo, $60, $70, and a big, humongous one, and fill that up. And so what you want to do is you want to, if you know that a hurricane or something is coming, you want to put a rectangular type bottle, like a plastic bottle. So a lot of the fruit juices will come in a rectangular bottle, and I have one. I was going to get it, I didn't get it, but so forgive me on that one. So what you want to do is you want to have a couple of those to lay down flat. So you want to put them in the freezer. You want to freeze them with water on the inside, and you want to lay those flat on the very bottom of the igloo or of your cooler. Then you want to put a little bit of water, just a little bit of water, cool water in there, and then fill it up with ice. Do this before you need it, because after the hurricane comes, if the power is out, ice goes crazy. I mean, you can't find ice, right? And so not only will it be melting in wherever you go, like the gas station or wherever to get it, but it goes so fast because people are wanting to get that they're not going to have, you're not going to find any. So get it a day, if you can, a day before, and go ahead and put it in your cooler just in case you want to have that ability to keep things cool. It'll be worth it. And then maybe you fill it up with some regular bottles of water to keep water cool. So if you really do need it, if the power goes out, you have something cool to drink, especially if it's going to be summertime. Like here, it's going to be hot during, when we hit, it's already hot now, but the hurricane season is going to be hot. So it's always worth it to have some really cool water there. So an ice chest. You want to have an inverter, right? You want an inverter that is big enough, like 750 watt to 1,000 watt, maybe even bigger than that, but 750 watt inverter. And the reason being is this: you have a lot of food in your refrigerator. If you have to throw out all the condiments and you have to throw out the stuff that you have, because let's say the power goes out and you can't eat it fast enough. So if you wind up losing it all, I mean, you might be losing 50, 60, 70, maybe a lot more money. If you have a freezer stocked with meat, you don't want to lose that. So an inverter will make sure that you don't lose that. It makes it possible for you to have power so that you can power your freezer and your refrigerator. So you want to get one that has the alligator clips where you can clip it onto your battery, your car battery, or the 12 volt, right? But if you're really going to be sucking out the energy or the electricity for the power for your freezer or your refrigerator, you really need to have the alligator clips going into your car battery, and you turn your car battery on, or you turn your car on. And so, for instance, my truck holds 36 gallons. That is a lot of fuel, right? And so, one of the preps that you need to do is make sure you fill up, and do not fill up the day that it's hitting. You fill up when a hurricane is coming and it's there. Do not wait. Go take care of the stuff that you need to. So you go and you fill up, and I know we always filled up our vehicles way ahead of time, maybe like 2 days ahead of time, and we were ready to go. So this last time around, when Harvey hit and we lost power, I was able to save all the stuff that was in our refrigerator and in our freezer with that inverter. So I go turn on my truck, I connect the alligator clips, I run an extension cord from the inverter into the house and run our freezer. And so that saved all of our food, and I didn't have to worry about throwing any of it out. I didn't lose a lot of money. So it will also provide you bring that electrical cord in and you connect it to a strip. It'll allow you to connect your phone chargers, maybe your tablet, maybe your computer, because when Harvey was going on, although we lost power, we still had cell service. So we were still able to talk and communicate and be online and all that kind of stuff. So you still are going to want to be able to do that, right? So with my hotspot on my phone, I was able to handle the things that I needed to handle with the website and different things like that. So make sure that you have an inverter. It's a great deal. You can keep it in your vehicle if for whatever reason, underneath I have one underneath my truck seat. So if I'm ever in a situation where I need some electrical power or whatever, I have that inverter there and I can just connect to it. So, you have a lot of gas in your gas tank if it's full, and that will power your refrigerator, your freezer for a long time. And you don't need to keep it continually on. You set it on and you set it for about 2 hours, and then you turn it off, and then you come back and maybe 2 hours later you put it on for another 2 hours. And so you're just kind of doing that, keeping keeping the stuff cool. And so that's a great thing to do. I know, for instance, after I finished using mine, I went over to my neighbor and I took the inverter. I said, hey, do you want to use this to be able to keep your freezer and your refrigerator cold? And he says, you know what? That's a great idea. He wasn't even thinking about that. But he said, I've got one built into my truck. So he has a newer truck with a built-in inverter. And so he just used that to keep the refrigerator and the freezer cool. So you might have one already built in if you have a newer vehicle. And so that's something, it's just great to have. I think everyone should have that. I think you need to have a radio, because one of the things that that you want is to be able to stay connected out there. And so there was times where I was charging my my phone, and I didn't necessarily have communication out there, but I knew that the water was bad. I wanted to know what was going on over there, and so you need to have a radio. This one is a solar. It charges with solar. It's a hand crank. You can charge it by putting it into the AC and charging it that way. It has a lithium ion battery in here, and I really like it because it's digital. And so when you are trying to find a channel, you're not having to just be so precise. And so it's got weather. It's got the weather on there, and then also this one does not have shortwave. I would like to have shortwave. There's one that I want to get that has that, but this one does have weather for you there. So it's also a flashlight, and it's also a charger if you need it to charge stuff. But I would primarily use it for a radio, because for me, communication would be very, very important. So have a radio. Like I said, this is called the Ambient Weather Adventure radio, and so this is a good one to have. I've always enjoyed using it. It's got an antenna and all that good stuff, and so that's important. You also want to have some battery chargers. So in between the times where you maybe your inverter is not going, but you still want to charge your phone or charge your tablet, you do want to have some battery chargers. And this one this is the Kogala. This is like a real solar charger. There are solar chargers. So let me tell you this one. I recommend this one. This is like maybe $16 or whatever. I think maybe 10,000 milliamps. I can't remember exactly. It has a solar panel on here, but the solar panel sucks big time. Do not use it for the solar. It's not a solar charger. I just use this for the battery itself. I charge it right off of my computer with a USB and use this one. It's about the same size as my phone, right? And so I can put it in my back pocket if I need to. It's a little bit thicker than my phone, and I can put both of these in my back pocket if I'm going somewhere and I know that I'm going to be gone for a while and I need a charge. So I use this one, or my kids use this one when we were during Harvey. But this one is like a for sure solar charger. So it has a big battery bank back here, has multiple USBs for you to connect here, and then it has solar panels, and it's ruggedized solar panels here, and so you can just stick it up and just connect it, and great for charging the battery. And this one really works. This is not a joke like that other one. This one really works, and so I would recommend this one. This is about the size of a tablet. This one used to cost $200. I did a review on this one. It used to cost $200. Right now, I just priced it before I did the video, and it's $159. But it's definitely worth it. It's got fast charge USBs on here, and so it's one of those that you can take with you in your bug out bag or in a kit and have with you. So if you use it, you can charge it up while you're walking. You can they even show it like connected to the back of someone's backpack, right? And go at it that way. So you need to have some chargers. You recommend having those. I recommend having those for all the family members anyway, but you want to have multiple chargers so that you can have communications. You want to have that communication with people. You want to let people know you're safe, or you want to let people know that you need help. You want to be able to call out. You want to be able to text. You want to do all those types of things. The next thing is you need to have a plan B. So although we talk about, I know that I'm not going to evacuate. I know that my desire is to stay here at the house, and that's my primary decision there. But you do need to have a plan B. You do have to have an idea of where you would go. And so, for instance, Hurricane Harvey, again, going back to that, there's a lot of people that said, I'm staying put right here. But after all the rain, they had to evacuate. So having a plan B would be something great. I know the recommendation one time, I can't remember who said it, but knowing that there's going to be a hurricane, or there's going to be some kind of crisis event that that you can foresee. So for instance, let's say a hurricane, and that it's coming. It's, for instance, for us in Houston, it's in the Gulf of Mexico and it's heading our way, still maybe 2 days out. You can call up north somewhere and reserve a hotel and just put a reservation on there. And so you're not going to show up, and if you need it, you're going to show up. But if you don't need it, you can always call and cancel it. But you do have a place that you can go to if you need to, right? And so if you don't have a family member or friends that you can stay with that are further away from the coast or wherever you're at. So that was always a recommendation that I remember hearing years ago. But if you don't need or if you don't have that, you still need to have a plan B somehow, somewhere, just in case. And so that's where those your bug out bag comes in, and that's where your emergency binder comes in. If you don't have an emergency binder or you haven't prepared one, now's the time to do it. And I'm going to link to a video up above and in the description of how to do an emergency binder, because I've done a video here just recently on that, and so how you can put an emergency binder together. But you want to, if there is a plan B, for Hurricane Harvey, people lost everything, and so you want to have those important documents, you want to have those important papers if you have to leave, if you have to bug out, and so you want to have that prepared if you need to. Next thing is this, a generator. If you are going to go that route, so when Hurricane Ike hit, we had, for instance, my in-laws were without power for, I think it was like a week, and they didn't want to leave their house. So they had a generator that was big enough to power their whole house except for the AC, and so they tied it into the system, and they ran it. So if you want to do that, you want to have a generator, that's fine. That's something that you can do. Just know that you need to have enough gas for that. One of the things you need to have enough gas, and you also need to have enough extension cords for that as well. And I would recommend putting it back somewhere where it is kind of hidden, or maybe even tied up or chained down. During Hurricane Ike, that was one of the things that was stolen a lot, is people would come and they would see a generator and they would throw it in the back of a truck. It would be running maybe with the cords and all that type of stuff. They would just throw it back in the back of the truck and take off. And people lost a lot of generators that way because people wanted to be able to have power. So if you're going to do a generator, then it might be worth it to have a little window unit because again, it's going to be hot. And so where you can cool off a room, where you can seal off a room and cool it off so that you can go and you can relax in there. You can be cool. Maybe you can watch some TV. If you have an elderly parent or grandparent or someone who has their health is not as strong, you want to keep them cool. People died on the side of the road during Hurricane Ike and during Hurricane Rita because trying to get out of Houston, it was just deadlocked. All the freeways were deadlocked, and gas tanks or vehicles ran out of gas, and so people got hot and they died. And these were people who had health issues and different things like that. But it was very sad that people died on the side of the road. You don't want that. So if you have people in your life that have frail health, that are older, you want to be able to keep them cool. So if you have a generator, another thing that you might want to do is if your generator can power multiple things, right? If it's a decent size, maybe 5 kilowatt, 4 kilowatt, 5 kilowatt, you might want to even partner with a neighbor and let them know, say, hey, I have a generator. I'm going to be running it if we need to. If you contribute gas, if you will have some gas prepared, then I will run an extension, or you can run an extension cord to it, and you can charge your phones, and you can do those types of things. So that might be something that you might want to do, and partner with someone along those lines, and with a neighbor, and they can provide you a little bit of gas, and that way you're not having to store it all and pay for it all. And then the last thing that I want to say is don't wait to the last minute. So many people wait to the last minute for whatever reason, and they go and there's nothing there. We learned our lesson early on, even before we got into preparedness. I can't even remember which hurricane it was, but there was nothing at the stores by the time we went. We were in education. I think it was Rita. We were in education. The school district was closing down that Friday to let people evacuate and to take care of things that they needed to if they were going to. If they were going to lock up their homes and board up and all that kind of stuff. So we were going to wait till Friday to go. Well, we waited till Friday and there was nothing at the stores. So don't wait for that. If you know that a hurricane is coming, then you should have supplies already. But if you're going to top off, if you're going to go and make that, you might want some fresh fruit. You might want to, get some last minute items. But if you see it that it's coming and it's a couple of days out, 3 days out, 4 days out, go ahead and go get what you need and make sure that you are topped off. Because as it gets closer and closer, people go to the stores and they wipe everything out and there's nothing there. You want to be prepared. You want to be ready just in case this happens. So anyway, guys, that's reasons and some hurricane preparedness tips there to be ready if a hurricane comes your way, or any disaster. These things can kind of help. And so hopefully that was it was good for you. So hey guys, I'm gonna link to some of these things in the description. I have some links that you can go and check out for some more information. I'm gonna also link to the Tag Cloud at Prepper website, because there's a lot of hurricane preparedness information there as well. So anyway, thanks so much for watching. God bless.